Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you today. As Laura said, I'm a Wix partner for the last 3 years. I'm the owner of Sorbet Agency, and today I will guide you through through the new Canvas behaviors and workflows of Wix Studio. I will share my screen, and let's start the work. Let's start the work. So, welcome to the new Wix Studio. This is the new canvas. As you could see, it's large, and at the top you can choose between different breakpoints: desktop, tablet, and mobile. On the left, you've got panels with different functions that will help you throughout the building process. Here you can add all the elements you need to your site. You can manage the site layers. You can add and manage pages, control your global sections like headers and footers, edit your site styles, install different apps, integrate and manage Wix CMS, and add custom code. On the right, you've got the inspector panel. Here you can manage every aspect of every element on your site. We will get to learn these inspector panels throughout this webinar. So today, as Laura said, we will build a website. This is the website we will build today. Now let's analyze it shortly, in a short fashion. Those are different elements that are behaving in a responsive behavior. We will learn how to create them. We will learn how to create this type of a section using Wix Studio Supergrid. We will create this section using a repeater. We will use this section with hover interaction, and we will learn how to create this. So let's get started. First, I would like to start with show you the new Canvas behaviors and responsive behaviors in Wix Studio. The default setup for each element, including sections, is scaled proportionately. Now let's see what it means. When I go to tablet or other breakpoints, we can see that the section is scaling at the same ratio. The height and the width are scaling at the same ratio. When I select fixed height, it means that the height will remain the same. Let's see how it looks across all breakpoints. As you can really see, the height remains at the same size on all breakpoints. The third option is fit to screen. It means that the section will take the full size of every screen. All right, now let's get back to scale proportionally and to 500 pixels. Now we'd like to add a new element, the cover photo, the hero banner of our website. So this is the photo. And we'll start by learning the different responsive behaviors of this photo and its relationship to its parent, to the section. When I set it up, the default selection is scale proportionately. Now let's check the behavior. On tablet, it scales in the same ratio as its parent, as the section. When I set it up to relative width, the width will change proportionately, and the height will maintain at the same size. We can easily see it here. We see that this is the height, and it remains the same on all different breakpoints. When I select fixed, it means that the image will maintain its width and height on all breakpoints, as you can see here. So those are the relationship between those different responsive behavior selections. And when I select the fourth one, stretch, it means that the element, in this case, the image, will be stretched across its parent, across the section. We can see it on tablet and mobile. Okay, so now let's start with our design. I will need to add a title and a paragraph and 2 buttons. Before I'll add them, I prepared on the site typography and styles 4 different types of titles. I will show you. Here you can select different fonts to set up a size, and a new feature is that you can select is scaled text. It means that throughout different breakpoints, it will keep the same ratio, meaning that for this width, this is the font size, and it will be automatically adjusted to different screen sizes. I also created a different type of title in white and 2 smaller titles, again in black and white. This is the size. They are all set up to scaled text. Now let's add them to our canvas. This is the title. I will add our brand name, coffee brand. Now I will add a paragraph. And there is a new powerful tool in Wix Studio using generative AI that can actually create an AI text for you. So I'm clicking create AI text. I'm selecting my business type, and now we are talking about a coffee brand, and it's related to the food industry. The name of the brand is coffee brand, very unique. The text type is paragraph, and what's the topic of the text? It's a welcome text. Here I can add some important things that I would like to mention, and I would like to mention that the coffee brand sells organic coffee, so I will use the word organic. And now the system will create 3 options of text for me. I will go with the second one. Clicking on use text, and here we go. We have a text already made using AI. Now I would like to add 2 call to action buttons. Let's go to buttons and add 2 call to action buttons. You are all familiar with the stack option on Editor X. On the Wix Studio, there is a new way to stack elements, and we can stack it horizontally. So now we have the horizontal stack. We can use this handle to create different gaps between the 2 elements. We can also use the inspector panel to give it a more precise size, for example, 20 pixels. Now we'll stack those 2 elements vertically. And now we'd like to stack both of stacks into one stack. So now all of those elements are a unified group, as you can see. I can also edit the stack using the inspector panel. I can align all the elements to the left, to the center, or to the right. In this case, I would like to align them to the left. And I can also set a unified gap between of element, for example, 5%. So now we have our stack ready. Let's investigate its behavior in different breakpoints. This is how it looks on tablet. We can see that the text are scaling in the right proportion to the smaller screen size. We can see that the buttons are getting smaller as well. And when we move to mobile, they're way too small. Now let's see how we can fix this. So I'm standing on this title, and the thing I can do is to give it a minimum size, and the minimum size will be 35. I can give the paragraph a minimum size. Let's give it 15, and let's see how it works. I'm moving to tablet, and on tablet I can see that the texts are getting smaller, but not too small. And on mobile, they are fully readable. That's interesting. I can also, make some minor adjustments to it. So this is how it looks. We can see that the font is readable, but the buttons are way, way too small. Let's see how we can fix it. The best way to fix it, since we are talking about call to action buttons and we want those buttons to be visible across all breakpoints, I will give them a fixed size. As you remember, a fixed size means they will maintain the same width and height on all breakpoints. Now let's investigate this behavior. We can see that they are remaining at the same side. It looks okay on tablet. On mobile, they are taking too much screen. I would like to stack them one below the other. And the way to do it is to stand on the stack and set it up to be scaled vertically. Now it will always be scaled vertically only on mobile, and this change won't be cascaded to the higher screen sizes, since the cascading rule means that all the changes you made are cascading downwards and not upwards. So only on mobile, those two buttons will be stacked vertically. Let's check this. And yes, we can see it. So a few more adjustments. I would like to dock this stack to the left. Let's say give it 10%. It means that on all breakpoints, it will always maintain 10% from the left end. And I want it to be docked to the middle. When I use those buttons, it means that it will dock them to where I set it. Another thing that I would do, and I recommend you as a best practice when it comes to those types of stacks, is to give padding to the stack itself. I'm going here, and I will give it, let's say, 5%. Now let's see how it looks on all breakpoints. Looks okay. I can manage this this paragraph to the left a bit. There's another way to do it, by the way. I can click Shift and anchor it here and give it a percentage, let's say 20% or even 10%. All right, so now it will be, it will keep the same ratio on all breakpoints. Let's see how it looks on mobile. It looks okay. So we've created our first section on Wix Studio. Let's check our reference. And now we need to create this second section. Let's see how we do it. We will start by adding a new section, and we can create a super grid using those options. I would like to use this collage option. I can use this handle to move it in the screen, as you can see. Let's set this cell to a different size. Those are different cells. Those are the right terms. Let's change the background of the left cell into black and add images to those cells. Let's select an image from our royalty-free gallery. Let's add another image. I can crop the image like on Editor X. So this is our starting point. Now let's check our reference. Okay, so we are getting close to what we want. So now we need to add a title, paragraph, and a button. Let's do this. This is our white title. Let's add another paragraph and a button. Let's change the colors of those elements. I will also copy and paste this text so I will have a bit more volume. I will change the background of the button and the color of the text. And for the ones of you who are sensitive for SEO, as you can see, I'm adding titles and they're all marked as H1. I can change them into H2 or H3 here. So when I'm grabbing those titles, I can change them immediately while I'm working or at the end of my work. Don't forget to do it. It's important for SEO. We already learned that we need to stack the elements. So here I'm using the vertical stack, and I want to align all those elements to the left, and let's give them 5%, 5% gap between them. Let's make this stack a bit narrow. And as a best practice, I will always recommend when you're handling complicated elements on your cells is to add padding. So let's add a padding of 5%. Let's see. We are talking about an organic coffee. So I write it down. Organic coffee. Let's stretch it a bit so the text won't break. Okay, so we already learned that we need to give the paragraphs and text minimum height and to set the button to a fixed size. But let's see what happens if we don't do it. We are just learning. All right, so we see that all the elements are scaling proportionately because that's the default. But again, on mobile, they're very small. So let's give them the proper setup. A minimum of 30, a minimum of 15. And we will set the button to a fixed size. Let's check it. Okay, it looks okay on mobile. On tablet, we can give it a bit more width here. And on mobile, we see that the layout is different than what we want. And in order to fix it, we need to stand on the section and divide it into rows. And automatically, the supergrid will change its orientation into different rows. Another thing that we can do, we can stand on the section and equalize the grid. So now all the cells have the same equal size. As you can see, we are almost there in terms of the design. In our reference, we see that we have those gaps. So let's create those gaps. In order to do it, you go to section and you can set up gaps. For example, 10 pixels sideways and 10 pixels vertically. We also want to add gap between this supergrid, this section, and the section above it, as we have on the reference. And the way to do it is to add padding to the section, not of percentage, but of pixels. So I'm adding 10% here and 10% at the bottom. And that's it. So we used supergrid in order to create this section. Moving on to the third section, we will use a repeater to do it. We'll add another section, and this time I would like to create a supergrid with 2 different rows. I will adjust this height, and I would like to add the title here. We'll select my already made black heading. The text is our special blends. Let's add it in. our special blends. And as a best practice, what I recommend to do in order to create a fully responsive behavior is, first of all, to align the text within the text box to the middle and stretch it to both ends. So, and another thing that I will always do in order to create a fully responsive behavior is to add padding into this cell. Let's say 2% should be enough. Okay, so now we have a fully responsive cell, and I would like to add a minimum to the title, a minimum of, we can select 35. Let's examine our work. You can see that it's worked well across all breakpoints. Now I would like to add a repeater. By the way, a repeater is a very strong tool when it comes to connecting to CMS. You can create a lot of elements in scale. So I recommend you watching more webinars about it. It's a very powerful tool, besides of what we will do right now. So I'm going to Layout Tools, selecting a repeater, and this is our repeater. And we want to add another cell, another item, and I will add another item. Now you see that the items are not aligned to one row. And in order to fix this, I will go to the inspector panel, set limits per row, and add another row, and add another item. So now we have 4 items. I will add padding to this cell of 5%. So now we have a padding, and I will stretch this repeater. So now we have a fully responsive cell, so we can start working on. I will add an image of Brazil. Since we are talking about the special blends coming from different origins, I will change this image into an image from India. Let's go with a Taj Mahal. I will add an image of South Africa. And an image of Morocco. Okay, so now we have 4 different images on all 4 items of our repeater. I would like to add a description, a text to it. I will go with my white title, edit here. And a repeater, as you all familiar from Editor X, repeats what you do, but it gives you the option also to edit it on different items. So I will update the names real quick. Let's stretch this text box a bit and center it horizontally and center it vertically. Another thing that I need to do is to align it to the middle. All right, we all remember that we need to give a minimum size for the fonts. Let's go with 20, and let's check our work. When I'm going to tablet, I see that everything looks good. The fonts are readable and the responsive behavior is good. When I'm going to mobile, I see that the cells are too small and too narrow. I can change it by going to the inspector panel, selecting the repeater. Where is it? Okay, here's the repeater. And set the number of items per row to 2. So automatically, the items are being aligned. And the beautiful thing about Wix Studio, I can just stretch it by pulling the section down now until I get the right look and feel that I'm looking for. So now we have those this alignment, and this is the alignment on tablet, and this is the alignment on desktop. In the example, we see that those two cells, those two items are different. Another new feature on Wix Studio is A/B setup for a repeater. So I need to select the repeater, and on my inspector panel, I have set items per row and set A/B design pattern. And when I select it, as you can see, the B items are highlighted. So let's change their design. I want to create a curvy angles in the corners, and I set up a 50 pixels corner. As you can see, it's also applied to the other B item, but we see a gray background here. And in order to remove it, I'm standing on the item itself, on the B item, and I'm making it transparent. So now we have the look and feel that we want. Another thing that I would like to do to this repeater is to set up gaps, bigger gaps between the elements. For example, 15 pixels. I will also set 15 pixels vertically. Let's see how it looks. Looks okay on tablet. And on mobile, I think we need a bigger gaps, so I can work on this breakpoint separately and overwrite the previous setup only for this breakpoint. For example, 10 pixels. So now we have the right look and feel that we are looking for. This is how it looks on tablet. And this is how it looks on desktop. You can review it in the preview mode. Our first section, second section, and third section. This is our reference site. And in the first section, we will create this nice hover interaction and nice spinning effect. We will start by adding a section. We will divide it into 2 columns. And we can also give it the black background as a reference. Here we need to add a title and a paragraph and a decorative element. Let's start by adding all those elements to the canvas. I will use the smaller title. Let's check the reference. Yes. All right. So this is the title. I will add a paragraph. Change its color into white and copy paste to add more volume to the text. And I will add an element using a right click and quick add. I can add a shape. I will color it in white, and I will place it on the left side of the title. Let's edit the text to special offer. Special offer. As you can all guess, I will horizontally stack those elements and then set another stack with the paragraph. I will align all the items to the left and give a 5% gap between them. So in order for this element to keep its size across all breakpoints, I will need to set it up to fixed. But let's see what happens if I don't do this. This is how this, you know what, let's first of all, as a best practice, add 5% padding to this cell. Let's align this stack to the middle. And let's check its behavior without making any changes. As you can all see, all the elements are scaling proportionately. We will know that on the mobile, it will be way too small. So we need to give it minimum size. And let's do this. Let's add a minimum size of 30 to the title, add minimum size of 15 to the paragraph, and let's check the behavior. Looks okay, although the icon of the title looks too small in comparison. We also want this layout not to be in two different columns. We want to set it up to rows. So I'm going to the section and change the order to 2 rows. So now I have 2 rows. I can also make this text fit. And we can align this to the center. Do the same on tablet. And let's give this shape a fixed size. And let's check the behavior. Works well. How do we create this spinning effect? In Editor X, in previous versions of Wix, we need to use the custom code. But here on the new Wix Studio, we can use an interaction, an already made interaction, a loop interaction. We can add it to this item, and we can add a spin interaction, and that's it. In a few clicks, we can have a spinning interaction of this element. Let's continue with our work and create this hover behavior. In order to do it, I will add a container. I will give the cell the padding. In this case, I will add 10% padding, and I will stretch this container across the cell. Into this cell, first of all, let's give it a nice color. Let's use this color. I will add a text, paragraph, and a call to action button. Text, paragraph, and a button. Let's stack them all together. Align them to the middle and give them 5%. All right, so now we have this element. Let's align it to the center of the container. And I would like to add an image of beans. Let's go to media, show more. Let's use this coffee beans image. And I would like to stretch it across across the container. We'll color it. And let's rearrange and recenter our stack. And now I would like to show you how to create this interesting interaction. And the way to do it is to select the container, all right, you can see it here, and to apply an interaction to it, a hover interaction. I will add this interaction, and instead of the default of applying the interaction to the container itself, I will select the image. So every time I will hover the container, the image will appear. Now let's check our work. When I hover with my mouse, I can see that the beans background is appearing. Let's check our work across different breakpoints. I can do it also in the preview mode. This is how it looks on tablet. And this is how it looks on mobile. We can see that the font size is too small. We can go back to desktop, and you all know what we need to do is to give a minimum to the fonts and set the button to fix. Now everything should work. I see that our stack is not aligned properly across all breakpoints, so I can align it here and align it also on tablet and on desktop. Let's check it again. Everything works. Tablet and mobile view. You see that the button is too close to the bottom. We can also fix this easily by adding a padding. We can either add padding to the container, or we can add padding to the stack. I will go with adding padding to the stack of, let's say, 5%. And it's all fixed. And the fifth and final section is this section. I will add another section, color it in black. I will add text. I will give it a bigger size, or let's say 120 pixels. I will add the coffee brand logo. Let's go to media. Here it is. I will resize it so it will fit the size of the text. I will use the hug option here, which means that this blue bounding box of the box will be closed to the text itself. I will add them into a stack, and I will apply a loop interaction to this, and we will use a cross interaction. All I will need to do now is to properly arrange this section. I will add padding at the top and the bottom of 5%. And I can just pull the section. I can make it stick here, and I can just pull the section here, and now it's fully ready. Let's check our work. Works perfectly. So now we've created a one-pager website to a coffee brand. It looks similar to our reference. And we did it using the new Wix Studio. And that's it on my end. Laura, it's all yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Avishai. That was super interesting. A very nice overview. Just so you know, we are also running some more in-focus webinars on more specific features if you want to like dive into anything. So make sure to be on the lookout for those. And now we're ready to dive into some questions, some of your questions, and I'll just get started. Okay, so questions for Avishai. So the first question is, how do you decide when to use a container or to build directly on the section?
It's a good question. I will usually select a container when I want to apply complicated elements or complicated structure of elements to a section, to a container. And the reason to do it, if I would like to apply different action to it or different commands to it, it can be an interaction command or even a custom code command. So I will choose working with containers if I would like to apply any sort of action to it. That would be a wise choice.
Thank you. Thank you for answering that. Okay, the next question that we have is, how can I prevent my text from wrapping?
All right, so there is a new, we touched it briefly here. Let's check this example. I mean, there is a new way to control text boxes. There is the scale proportionately wrapped, so we want to prevent the text from wrapping. In order to do it, we can use fixed. It means that the text, when I select it, as you can see, there isn't any minimum. It will maintain its fixed size. And this is how it will look across different breakpoints. As you can see, it doesn't break. The text doesn't break into two lines, but it maintaining its original size. It will do the same if I select hug. All right. I can also select scale text, but if I select only hug, it will keep the same fixed size. So this is the way to do it. And in order to prevent it from wrapping, you need to either go with fixed or hug, and this will prevent your text from breaking.
Amazing, thank you. The next question is, why is it necessary to set a minimum size for text when I choose scale text on site styles?
I think we covered that. Yes, you can, when you select scale text, as you saw in those examples, it doesn't end here. It means that the text will always scale proportionately. However, in the smaller viewport sizes, the text can be too small. That's why it's important to keep your website accessible and maintaining a good experience on mobile as well. And my suggestion to you is don't select a minimum that is lower than 15, since a font size lower than 15 won't look good at mobile, and people with problems in their eyes, and there are a lot of them out there, would have problems reading the text. So I advise you to maintain 15 pixels font size and as a minimum across all your websites.
Okay, thank you. And we have time for just one more question. So the last question that I'll ask tonight is, what is the difference between the super grid and a CSS grid?
A super grid is a great tool to work with. It can provide a very nice canvas behavior. We can really switch and change elements here. The problems with it, it's not as accurate as working with a CSS grid. You're all familiar with Editor X, and with Editor X, you have full control across everything. And we use a super grid. There are limitations. But if you want to open the super grid and turn it into a CSS grid, there is an option to do it. you can go to advanced CSS grid. And if I will apply it, now we have a normal CSS grid. If I will select the section, I will have all the options to edit it and give each cell a specific size. For example, I can fix it into pixels or viewport height or viewport width. So that's the main difference. I mean, for, let's say, mainstream, regular scenarios, the super grid should provide you with a very good solution. For a more custom-made and pixel-perfect design, you can always switch to a normal CSS grid, like you know with Editor X, and do the adjustments there. I mean, as a normal CSS, all the options of Editor X are still here, but the super grid will enable you to work faster and will give you a very good solution for most use cases.
Thank you. Okay, so I think those are all the questions we can get to for today. But if you have any questions we haven't answered, go to the forum, join the Wix Studio Discord community, and ask anything there. And our academy is also always there as a resource for you to get more information. And of course, this webinar, which you'll get the link, and it's also going to be in our YouTube channel, so you can find it there. And please, if you haven't already, fill out the feedback that we sent through the chat. There's a link to a feedback form specifically for this webinar, so make sure to follow that link. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining. And by the way, in tomorrow's webinar, there's a webinar tomorrow called Best Practices and Workflows, and we're going to continue with the site, right? Same site and
same
okay.
site, and I can give you a quick teaser, guys. We will create this interesting interaction using a map, and we will learn how to create this behavior and how to create this section.
Wow.
So tune up for tomorrow. There is more to learn. I hope to see most of you there tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you so much again. Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Bye.
And take care.
Bye-bye.